TCI is brought to you by Spendthrift Stallion Patio Prado, El Prado's most versatile Grade 1 winner, who placed in the Kentucky Derby on dirt.
Welcome back to TCI, your inside track to the Triple Crown. Alongside Joel Cunningham, I'm John Siegel. Well, Joel, all the major Derby preps are in the books. We do have one more to talk about this weekend. It's the Coolmore Lexington. Not a lot of points here, so we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's look at the TCI top 10 first, though. And this time of year, attrition always hits the Derby field. We see it again with our #1 Constitution. Joel, unfortunately, this horse comes off the trail. He's got a hairline fracture. The good news is it looks like the colt will just be off. 60 to 90 days, can return to training. But Joel, the fact is we lose another #1 this year.
It's been just a very strange year, John. I mean, it's been a funny year, and we've had a lot of attrition, as you mentioned. It's been a turbulent top 10 for us, something certainly that we would hope that on a par year for us, we would have a better read on things. Certainly hasn't been as good as we had a read on a year ago. So we now look at the TCI top 10, and you'll see with Constitution out, Constitution, John, was a horse that I just thought, could have been the most talented of this crop of 20 that you're going to get into the gate. That's why we had him at #1. I thought he had all the upside in this group. Unfortunately, now with that injury, he's off the Derby trail. So we will have now our 5th #1.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You talk about a turbulent year. I mean, we had Top Billing at the top when we debuted. We had Cairo Prince in there. Then we had Social Inclusion. And now we have Constitution out. That was our 4th out. California Chrome has just earned the spot, John. I mean, he comes in as the clear favorite in this year's Kentucky Derby. And I don't think he's as good of a horse as maybe the Big Browns and horses like that of the past, to where even though he looks like the dominant horse, I don't think he's that good in terms of legendary quality of maybe like a Big Brown. However, John, he is a standout over this group, so you have to acknowledge that. When you look at the 20, it's going to go in the gate now, so he's #1 for us with that big 106 breast net number and those back-to-back wins in San Felipe and Santa Anita Derby.
Well, everybody looks like moved up one spot. I want to talk about a new horse on there at #5, and that's Dance with Fate. Joel, of course, this horse, very impressive in the Bluegrass Stakes at Keeneland. Joel, he really is a polytrack specialist. It seems like this horse runs really well on that synthetic surface. But guess what? The Derby is not run on synthetic. It's run on dirt. Tell me, what do you think about his chances in the Derby?
I really think the horse has a shot, John. I mean, I think he's been a nice colt all along. I mean, you go back and look at his 2-year-old form. He was a legitimate top California 2-year-old, a Grade 1 level 2-year-old. The thing that, he sort of did when he tailed off, late in his 2-year-old year, John, and again, he was running off a Lasix in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I actually thought that he could have been a contender in there, and it wasn't the greatest Breeders' Cup Juvenile ever. But for me, he just wasn't finishing in his races. But now we're seeing that. I love his form cycle this year. I mean, when you look at, that 1 mile allowance prep, first race of the year at Santa Anita, thought he ran pretty well in there. It was a good prep for him to then go to the Tapeta surface at Golden Gate, and he just got nailed by an informed horse in Tamarindo. Now with proper spacing, 3rd off the layoff, they ship him to Lexington, and we'll look at the run he makes in here. And I think what's important about it, John, is that he makes that 1 3/8 of a mile sustained move, and that's what you need in the Derby, especially a Derby that's shaping up with the pace of this year's Derby. And let's not forget, Churchill Downs, a good polytrack horse. I mean, look at Doulahan. He was right there at the wire at Churchill Downs in the Derby. Patio Prado is another one that comes to mind. That track, I think, because it holds so much moisture in the springtime with all the rain that they get and the big configuration, the big turns and long stretch, a lot of turf and synthetic horses handle Churchill Downs. So I look at Dance with Fate and how good he is and his form cycle coming in off this bluegrass. I know it was on polytrack. I know his best races are on polytrack, but I give him credit as a horse that now has enough quality that with the form he's in, I think he can be an off-the-pace player at a dirt track like Churchill. Maybe not a fast dirt track like Santa Anita or Gulfstream or something, but at Churchill, I think he fits. So we'll go now to the Twin Spires TV race replay with the play button here in the Bluegrass Stakes. You see, turning for home here, the 2 wide moves here. Medal Counts, the horse I liked in the race. And then, of course, Dance with Fate with Corey Nakatani in here. And you watch Medal Count fires and runs a pretty good race here. But, I mean, Dance with Fate just puts him away. I love this move that he made, John. Again, from off the pace, he was actually finishing in his race, outrunning horses and showing strength, really reaching out for the wire here the last 3/8 of a mile. I love this performance. I think it sets him up well for the Derby. And now, when I look at this field of 20, why not Dance with Fate?
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned medal count in here. You know, that's a horse that came back with 8 days rest, and Joel, people were questioning that. Hey, I think it was a good move. The horse was in shape. He had been training extremely well. Dale Romans knows what he's doing. He punches his ticket into the Derby as well, and I see he made it onto the list there at the number 10 spot.
I was in the paddock for the Bluegrass. Both those horses by far the two best looking horses amongst that field of 14. And Medal Count's another horse that, again, should love Churchill Downs, should love 1.25 miles, son of Dynaformer. The question with him now is 3 races in 4 weeks. He gets in the 10 spot. He has the right style, should be one of the few in here that really appreciates 1.25 miles. But again, John, 3 races in 4 weeks is a big stretch for me. I would have liked for him to have only run in maybe the Bluegrass and then come back in here. I think that would have given him a better shot.
And for anybody who thinks Dynaformer is just a turf sire, you can mention Barbaro. He seemed like he handled the dirt just fine.
Yep.
Well, Joel, let's go now to Arkansas because I see Danza sitting in there new at that number 8 spot. You know, this was an interesting horse because people thought maybe Todd Pletcher had lost his mind. He's going to enter a maiden winner into the Arkansas Derby. Joel, I think he proved why he's Todd Pletcher and why he's so good at getting these 3-year-olds to the Derby.
One point I want to make about Danza is, John, that here's a horse that was 41-1 in the race. And you know how you hear people say sometimes that a horse is just talking to you in the post parade?
Yeah.
And they'll bet horses off their looks or just touting themselves. Go back and look at Danza if you have the benefit of seeing the post parade. If there was ever a horse that was touting himself before the race, it was Danza, and I actually included him in some tickets. I just didn't have Ride on Curlin in second, so I didn't wind up hitting anything. But he just looked so good, John. I mean, that big wide eye, tremendous posture, didn't turn a hair. He looked like a horse that was clearly sitting on a big race in here. And again, I didn't like him. I wondered, you know, a son of Street Boss, you know, can he go 1 mile and 1/8? You know, I personally did not like his ability to stretch out on paper, but when I saw him in the post parade, and we know how sharp Aaron Wellman and those Eclipse connections are, Todd Pletcher bringing him in, I wound up using the horse, and at 41-1, he just runs away from this group. We go now to Twin Spires TV Race Replay. Got a great inside track trip in here. And you see he's already punched through and made the lead here. And everybody else is flat in the race, John.
Yeah.
We've been kind of questioning that Oaklawn form all winter long. You see Tapiture here. I mean, he's just completely out of horse. Ride on Curlin makes a late run in here. And what's intriguing about Ride on Curlin is he's running more to his Curlin pedigree than he is his Victory Ride pedigree. I mean, you're actually seeing him finish here instead of empty out going 1 mile and 1/8. So he's going to be a wise guy horse now because he gets Calvin Burrell on him. A lot of people might like Ride on Curlin in the Derby now off of that performance. But Danza here, look at his ears up, John. He just dominates this field. And I tell you what, I don't know if he can get 1.25 miles. His dosage index isn't that bad, but he ran so well in here and he looks so good that if he looks that good at Churchill, I think he belongs as a contender amongst this group.
All right, well, the question right now everybody has, you know, with this new point system, I still think there's some confusion. Who's in, who's out, where are we at with this thing? So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the leaderboard, and let's go through here real quick, and we see horses, California Chrome. Joel, at number 2, I see Vickers in Trouble. I say it again, Vickers in Trouble in at number 2. Yeah. When I look at our list, you have Social Inclusion, yeah, who is, I think, down in like the 24th spot. We'll see that in a second. Yeah. But you got Social Inclusion in over top of a horse like Vickers in Trouble. Tell me why.
Well, you know, again, Social Inclusion, when I look at my list here, he's 26 on the list, but you have a lot of question marks ahead. You know, Vince Ramos, is he going to run? Pablo Del Monte, is he going to run? Bayern, you know, those are horses I could see skipping this race. And then you have some horses that made it into the field, like Tapiture. Asmussen, after that performance, not sure if he's going to run now. Midnight Hawk, you know, he's running the Illinois Derby this weekend. You know, is he really going to wheel back around the Kentucky Derby, especially if he gets beat in the Illinois Derby? Ring weekend, I mean, there's enough question marks. And again, attrition. Will there be another Constitution situation where in the next couple weeks somebody falls by the wayside? I just don't think Social Inclusion's out of it yet. I'm willing to wait it out and keep him in the top 10, and that's why he's there. If Vickers in Trouble, again, yeah, I think he's a great middle distance horse, but with that 5 dosage index, yeah, to me, he's just a miler, and it's hard for me to see him getting 1.25 miles.
All right, well, we're running through here. Dance with Fate,
yep,
we know he's running. Wicked Strong is going to run.
Yep.
You know, we're looking here. Ride on Curlin, you say gets Calvin Burrell in there. Tapiture is a question mark.
Key
Ring
stretch,
weekend.
right here. It's a key stretch of horses.
I see that. Cairo Prince, you know, I know if he gets in, he's going to run. Looks like he's got the points, yep, now. Medal Count is in there. You know, tell me some other fringe horses that you think, you know, Uncle Si now gets in with the injury of Constitution. Are there any other fringe horses that you're looking at that you think might make the field?
Really, Social Inclusion's the main one. Commanding Curve, they said that they will go if they get in, and I think the horse will probably get in. Just a guess, Sean Bridgman will ride. But, you know, Cairo Prince, he's in now. You know, he was a horse just a week or 2 weeks ago. We were saying, okay, well, he's probably not going to get in. Well, now he's in, and don't forget about him because on quality, he may be the best horse amongst the group of 20 that'll go into the gate. Can he get a mile and a quarter? Is he in top form? Those are big question marks. But on quality, don't forget about him, because I think he's as good as any horse, and he could have the lead at the 8th pole.
Well, you can take a look at this list at KentuckyDerby.com. They do a great job. We love this thing. Helps keep track. They keep it up to date. When Constitution came off the list, they had the thing updated within 15 minutes. So you can take a look at that at KentuckyDerby.com. Joel, let's talk about a horse who could potentially change this list. That's Amy's Holiday. It's the only horse that if he wins the Coolmore Lexington can get in. He might get enough points. Tell me, what do you think about this race, and do you think Amy's Holiday has a chance?
Amy's Holiday, if he runs back to his synthetic form of Woodbine, he certainly has a chance in this race. Just a grade 3 here, John, but here are the facts. You know, when you take out his restricted 5th place finish in the Coronation Futurity, that takes out, you know, 7,500 or so. It puts his earnings at about 169,243. So if he were to win, that'll give him $120,000 and 10 points. 10 points gives him 20 total, which ties him with a bunch of horses. He'll actually be 22nd on the list, just shy of Vince Ramos, with unrestricted earnings of 189 and change. So that, I think, would get him into the Derby, and probably maybe even push out a horse like Commanding Curve, you know, depending on what happens there. So Amy's Holiday is the horse to watch in the Lexington if they were to want to come back and run in a race like the Kentucky Derby. But personally, I like Todd Pletcher's horses in here quite a bit. Divine Oath, you know, a horse they want to run in the Bluegrass. Global Strike has that pedigree to me, likes the turf, likes the dirt. I think Global Strike could be a live horse in here. So Pletcher is loaded in here. But the horse I really like, John, is Mr. Speaker on the rail. If he doesn't get shuffled back on the rail, you know, Shug went the conservative route, didn't run him in the Bluegrass. I personally thought if he would have run the Bluegrass, between him and Metal Count, those are the two horses I was really looking at in that race. To me, he's a horse that should love synthetic. So for me, Mr. Speaker is a standout in this race, but it's the poly track, and who knows what can happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's your winner.
All right, thank you, Joel, and thank you guys for watching. Make sure you come back next week. We'll take a look at the results of the Coolmore Lexington.
Thank you.